The film opens with a group of activists engaged in a protest against a land development project known as the Asan project, which is responsible for environmental pollution. However, a gang of criminals posing as activists arrives and deliberately stirs up trouble, leading to a confrontation between the activists and the police. One of the criminals, Seok, fatally assaults a police officer. Seok is taken to the police station and interrogated by Byun, a hot-headed prosecutor known for his violent interrogation methods. Byun bombards Seok with questions to identify the mastermind behind the chaos, but Seok fails to provide clear answers. Using an inhaler to assist with his breathing, Seok rambles incoherently. Frustrated, Byun strikes Seok. The following day, Byun returns to the interrogation room only to discover that Seok has died. As the last person to see and strike Seok, all evidence points to Byun as the main suspect. During his initial trial, Byun argues that Seok's death was due to a pre-existing breathing condition. However, Seok's friend Jagun testifies that Seok was the strongest among them and had no breathing problems. Additionally, the inhaler Seok used is missing from the crime scene. With no solid evidence to exonerate him, Byun is sentenced to 15 years in prison. While incarcerated, Byun faces bullying and assaults from inmates he previously prosecuted. One day he spots his superior, Assistant Prosecutor General Gil, at the opening of the Asan project. Gil has even resigned to run for mayor of Pohang. Byun senses something is off, recalling that Gil had promised to assist him during the trial, yet remained silent and allowed Byun to be convicted. Byun comes to the realization that Gil has betrayed him. He finds himself forced to endure life in prison, facing numerous inconveniences and hardships. Nevertheless, thanks to his knowledge and experience in legal matters, he assists the guards and officers with their legal issues. He even aids some inmates in obtaining sentence reductions. This earns him a unique status and privileges within the prison. Moreover, the other prisoners start to respect him and show loyalty towards him. 5 years later, a young con artist named Won is incarcerated and eventually crosses paths with Byun. Byun discovers that Won may have connections to Seok. One day, Byun extends an offer to help Won escape from prison, but in exchange, Won must assist him in taking revenge on those who wronged him. Won agrees to the deal. At that time, Won was unemployed and had just landed a vague job. He then met Seok, who was his colleague. One day, Won, Seok, and a few others were sent to the Asan project, posing as activists to sabotage the demonstration. They were hired by a gangster named Yong to create chaos, ensuring that the activists could not successfully oppose the Asan project. Upon learning the truth, Byun devises a meticulous plan to confront the powerful figure behind it all. He aims to identify Seok's true murderer from within the prison, with Won acting as his con artist ally. To execute his plan, Byun first needs to secure Won's release from prison. After uncovering the weaknesses in Won's case, he successfully manages to get him out. Won promptly visits Jigun, who had testified in court previously, to gather information regarding Seok's breathing issues. Byun grows suspicious, as the inhaler Seok used has gone missing. When Jigun starts drinking heavily, Won takes the opportunity to record their discussion. He inadvertently reveals that he provided false testimony regarding Seok's health status. He clarifies that Seok was indeed very frail and suffered from asthma. Without his inhaler, he could face immediate danger. Jigun also mentions that Yong instructed him to give a false statement. The recording is then secretly sent to the prison and handed over to Byun. Byun begins to prepare the necessary documents to request a retrial. Eventually, Byun submits his documents to the court along with the recording as evidence. Yang learns about this first and promptly informs his superior, who turns out to be Gil. It is revealed that Gil, who is Byun's boss in the legal field, is the mastermind behind the entire scheme. Initially, Gil had tasked Yang and his associates with sabotaging the demonstration, but unexpectedly, Seok ended up killing a police officer. At that time, Gil was in the midst of an election campaign and feared that Seok might disclose that the chaos was orchestrated by him. Consequently, he decided to visit the interrogation room, where he assaulted Seok and seized his inhaler, which ultimately led to Seok's suffocation and death. After eliminating Seok, Gil disposed of the inhaler to erase any evidence. Fast forward to the present, Won starts to feel anxious about his own safety since his friend, Jagun, has been severely beaten after revealing the truth. Nevertheless, Byun reassures him and encourages him to look into Gil's financial records. Won then becomes involved in Gil's campaign as a supporter. This gives him the opportunity to connect with the girl who works in Gil's finance department. As he grows closer to her, he successfully obtains Gil's confidential financial documents. The following day, Gil's financial report is made public. It comes to light that he has been receiving questionable funding from the owner of the Asan project. This leads to the assumption that Gil has been bribed to ensure the success of the Asan project. Meanwhile, Byun's request for a retrial is denied by the prosecutor, but Byun persuades him by explaining that his previous statement was coerced by Gil, who had promised to assist him, but instead caused him to end up in prison. The prosecutor starts to lose trust in Gil and grants Byun's retrial request. The next day, Gil learns about the approval of Byun's retrial, which infuriates him. He takes various measures to sabotage Byun's retrial. He pays off the warden to destroy all of Byun's documents in jail, preventing Byun from adequately preparing for his retrial. Additionally, Gil instructs Yong to assault and kill Won. Just as Yong is about to strike Won with a hammer, a group of police officers arrives to save him. On the day of the retrial, Gil again bribes the warden to stab Byun to stop him from attending court. Won becomes extremely anxious while Gil remains composed. However, at the last moment, Byun arrives looking well. With Won as a witness and the attorney present, they manage to bring Gil to testify in court. Gil responds to all inquiries confidently and presents his alibi to demonstrate his innocence. Byun then introduces a recording of a conversation between Gil and another individual regarding the inhaler that went missing 5 years ago. The recording comes to a halt as Byun pulls out an inhaler, asserting that it belongs to Seok, who has lost it. Gil impulsively retorts that it's a fake. Byun's remark has ensnared Gil. If Gil can assert that it's a counterfeit inhaler, it implies he knows exactly where the genuine one is. Byun resumes the recording, revealing that the authentic inhaler has been discarded into the Han River. Gil is left speechless. The prosecutor convicts him of murder and for concealing his errors over the years. In the conclusion of the tale, Byun rises before the court, confessing that he was indeed a brutal prosecutor in the past, but believes that the 5 years he spent in prison were enough to atone for his wrongdoings. He feels he has paid his dues and is prepared to reintegrate into society. With significant support from his partner, Won, Byun is finally released from prison with a sense of pride. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more content like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications and give us a thumbs up to support the channel. Thanks for watching.